Welcome to the First Responder Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Conrad Weaver. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to invite you to a very special webinar. In just a few weeks, on December 3rd at 12 p.m. Eastern, we're hosting a free 1-hour Mastermind preview webinar for all first responder leaders. We'll be diving into real strategies to help you motivate, inspire, and lead your team with confidence in 2026. Dr. Phil Bequee will be my special guest. He has trained elite teams from the U.S. Army Special Forces to the U.S. Marshals, the DEA, and police departments around the country. This is a practical, high-impact leadership training designed just for you, and it won't cost you a thing. Spots are very limited, so head over to the link in the show notes and grab your seat, and I'll see you on December 3rd. Now, let's dive into the show. If you've been a first responder for any length of time, you already know this, that stress doesn't just come from the big calls. It comes from the late nights, the organizational changes, the family pressures, the responsibility of being the one everybody relies on. And over time, that stress, it stacks up. Well, today's guest has spent decades helping the helpers. Marie Matteson began her journey as a volunteer EMT in a small Wisconsin town and later served in EMS in Washington State. She also holds a master's in applied health studies and is a longtime medical massage therapist and has devoted her career to understanding and treating stress and overwhelm, especially in first responders. Marie is the author of the 1-Minute Stress Release, and you're going to hear her explain a simple, practical technique that you can use in about a minute on shift, at home, even in the airport security line or while you're sitting in your cruiser, that to turn down your body's stress response. This is a great conversation, and it's a great tool for you to use. So if you're a first responder, a peer supporter, a dispatcher, a police officer, a nurse, or someone who carries the weight of others' emergencies, yep, this episode's for you. Let's dive in. Here's my conversation with Marie Matteson. Marie, welcome to the First Responder Wellness Podcast. It's so good to have you on the program.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is quite an honor to be invited to your podcast.
Well, we had the privilege of meeting a month ago or now, up in your neck of the woods in Northwest Washington or Northwest part of the country and Northwest
the Pacific
Washington.
Northwest.
Pacific Northwest, the PNW, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
Although the W usually stands for wet, because we are now in the wetter season.
Well,
so.
Today here in Maryland, it feels like I'm in the PNW because it's wet here. It's a cold, wet rain today. So
we take the good with the bad, right? And
you have to. Glad to have you on the program. I know that I want to show my audience the book that you wrote, or actually one of the books that you were involved in anyway. We want to dive into that, but first I want to kind of learn a little bit about your background. You have a background in EMS, correct?
I do. 1990 is when I became an EMT in a small town in mid-Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in Wisconsin. That's the funny vowel sound you'll hear. I'm not Canadian, although I'm a cheesehead and proud of it. And then in 96, I moved to Washington State. And here in the Northwest, EMS and fire are together, where in the Midwest, they were separate. Mm-hmm. And so the fire department, my husband was a volunteer, but they didn't have EMS. You had to be a firefighter.
Okay.
And I'm saying to the chief, this makes no sense to me. 97% of your calls are EMS. Right. So why don't you have EMS providers? And so I just kind of started showing up and offering to help, even though I was unlicensed in Washington State. And finally he said, okay, I agree. This is important. But I had to go back through EMT school because my national registry expired. So yeah, but we do what we do, right? It was important to me to serve as a volunteer. So I was not a full-time career centered person. I had my own career. My kids were young but it was important to me to serve and to maintain that certification. So I went back through class, took the national registry, passed, and then I could go back to being a volunteer here in Washington until 2011.
So you said you went off to get a master's degree. What's that degree in, and why did you kind of choose to go down that path?
Yeah. So I have a master's degree in applied health studies. So it's a master's in science with a minor in psychology. And I specifically decided applied health studies because of my experience as an EMS provider. I wanted to take the studies that are coming out and still coming out and apply them in some way into a care setting. So how do you make that niche? And really, it was through my other license, which is a medical massage therapist. So I've been a massage therapist since the early 90s. My niche is to help those that help others.
Your book is called The 1 Minute Stress Release.
Yeah.
How can I relieve stress in 1 minute?
Pretty amazing, huh? So this is another story, Conrad. So sorry. I was a ride along as an emergency medical technician with the paramedics in the city. And I was the extra person, just supposed to observe. But as an EMT, I could do other things. And the patient was being well managed by the medics, but very upset. And so as I take my gloved hand and place it on the patient's forehead, I noticed that the patient's pulse rate dropped. And I found that fascinating. Knowing that I had already been trained in this, I was really looking for a way to bridge this alternative method, if you will, and the science. And how do we do that? And so it was a bit of an experiment for me to do that with her. And I watched the pulse rate drop, and then I had to do something for one of the medics. And then I went back and then she got agitated again. And so I put my hand back. And by this time, the medics have caught on. And they said, keep doing that. So it was noticed, right? And so I began looking for what else works? How can we quantify? How can we really measure a difference? So I approached my instructor for my EMT class and said, look, I want to do a study. And we have a group of paramedics and EMTs going through the class right now. They're about ready to take their final exam and their practical exam, which is a bit nerve-wracking because you have what you have to remember for the state that you're in. If you're a national registry state, meaning that's your final exam, you have different rules and different procedures and different test questions that are right or wrong. So it's about taking the test, right? And so these are stressors and you want to get through. Some people are in the class to be a full-time, this is part of their full-time job and they have to pass in order to keep their job. And so the college agreed that they would let me do this. And so it was a bit of a cheat because now I have the kids, if you will, in the class measuring each other's blood pressure. So I didn't, so for me, it's hands off, right? I'm just using the students in the class that are between 18 years old and 42, I think was the oldest in the class, but about that, right? And so they're my group of, who's going to pay for a study? Nobody. There's no money in it, right? But I had a pretty good control. And so they measured their own blood pressure before the test, thinking about just life. Where's your happy place, right? And they wrote the number down. And then we have a control of we're all going to take a test, which is kind of a control, but really everybody's experiences are different about taking a written test. And so what are your fears? What are your thoughts? What are your apprehensions? All of those, whatever that is. And then after they did the technique, they remeasured their blood pressure, still thinking about the stress, taking the test. And everybody's blood pressure came down. So it's a change. a measurable change. That's what I was looking for, because I have to go and I have to present to somebody like Dr. Wayne, a medical director, and say, look, I want to teach this and it works. And there's a measurable change, because that's the language that doctors and psychologists understand. So you want to know? You want the secret?
I want the secret.
Yeah.
Spill the beans.
Spill the beans. So I enhanced the hand on the forehead, which does work to lower
so
your
simply
pulse
just
rate.
putting your hand on the
your
forehead.
hand on your forehead. So the next time the grandkids are screaming in Costco, the hand on the forehead is generally enough to let them know you hear them, you understand their frustration, and they typically will calm down without too much more. It just is kind of a reset. No guarantees it's going to make them completely stop and, stop asking for the thing or the cookie or the whatever, right? So I took that and I enhanced it by a mudra. So this would be a yoga move, right?
So for those listening on the podcast, you're using your fingers and you're touching your thumb to your...
So fingers and your ring fingers. So I typically wear 2 rings on my ring fingers, right? So that when I say ring fingers, it's a visual to the person in front of me, but to those listening. So it kind of looks a little funky. And then you have the index and middle finger kind of left over. The pinky just gets to hang out, tuck it in. So we're going to put the middle finger and ring fingers up on the bumps of the forehead. So kind of that Neanderthal area, right? And they're just simply going to, above your eyes, about, inch or so above your eyes. And so they're just going to sit there. You don't have to massage them or anything. So here comes the tricky part. So we're going to have you think about the stressful thing. We already know blood pressure rises when you're stressed. So you take that small stressor, okay, the being stuck in traffic and trying to get to the airport or something like that, right? And you're going to rotate your eyes in a complete circle as far to the peripheral vision as you can make it, thinking about all the things that are stressing you about trying to get to the airport.
So kind of your eyes in a big circle type of a thing?
Big circle. You go one direction and then the other. And you may feel, as you kind of come to the end of, you may feel kind of a sigh or a sensation of calm, this kind of a letdown. You may find yourself thinking, what was I supposed to be thinking about? I look kind of silly, like your mind is all of a sudden moved beyond the stressor. So that's when you know that you're finished with that particular thing. If your mind wanders to something else, go with it. If it's another stressor, then, move along to the next stressor. If it's a fear of flying, I generally have a person start with I'm thinking about going on vacation and I might have to book an airplane ticket. So starting with the very basics, and then it's what might I be packing in my suitcase? And then taking these slow incremental pieces to then, having to get online and book the ticket or call the agent on the phone and process that. And driving to the airport or getting on a taxi to get yourself to the airport and then having to go through, there's you could spend a lot of time just on getting through the security line.
That's my biggest stressor for my travels.
We're going to help you with this, Conrad.
It's my least favorite part of the airport. I love traveling, I love flying, but that's the least favorite part.
What is the rule du jour? What is the rule of the day? Are we taking shoes on? Are we taking shoes off? Is it belt on day, belt off day? Do I open my laptop there?
And beep. Oh, you've been selected for a special security screening.
Yeah. You've been super selected.
Because I have clear, I have, pre-check, I have all those things. And yesterday, flying home from, where was I? Charlotte, beep. And this time they were like, we need your cell phone. I'm like, what? So I had to go get my bag off the little thing and pull my cell phone out. And so they swabbed my cell phone, I guess, for whatever they were looking for. And I was just a random, I had never had that before.
The rule du jour,
Right.
it is the soup of the day. What is this? What is the new thing? You don't need your shoes off anymore.
Right.
I'm like,
nope.
Okay, well, oh my God. Yeah. Well, when did that's a change. And I don't fly nearly as often as you do, but yeah, it can be flying can be extremely stressful.
Yep.
So this thumb to ring finger, 2 fingers on the forehead. One instance in particular was a police officer, and for circumstances beyond his control, started having difficulty qualifying with his weapon. And so I was able to take my technique and run him through and turn the stress down, almost eliminate it, so that he was able to qualify. He would have lost his job.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
it was an all of a sudden, and it wasn't really it was really before we knew about PTSD from the military, and he had served in the military, but this was kind of that last straw that tipped him over, and it didn't come out as screaming nightmares. He just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn as he's trying to qualify with his weapon. And it's like, what the heck? Is this like the yips from playing golf? Like I can't, or what is happening? And nobody could really figure it out. And so I'm a problem solver. I like solving these problems. I solve problems as an EMT. I solve problems as a mom. Why not take these health studies and implement them? And so this is one way to be able to do it in a very rewarding way. So what we're doing is we're reminding the body that this is usually the prefrontal cortex, the front of your forehead, is where memories go in. They're stored short term. So we're asking the body to remember and bring blood to the prefrontal cortex. And so the purpose of the eye circle is different than EMDR, eye movement desensitization repatterning. So those patterns just go side to side, the movements of the eyes.
Right.
What happens if memories are stored someplace other than this window that is just across the eyes? And so this is me saying, look, I'm going to take all of these studies that I've learned that are out there done by other people and combine them and go, there's a study about Malcolm Gladwell wrote about it in his book Tipping Point, and I think he also touches on it in Blink. And I chose Blink because many of the police officers and firefighters I know actually read that book and were fascinated because it is mentioned in the book about thin slicing and all the information that goes in when you go in to a home as a paramedic or a police officer. What information do you gain in 6 seconds? It is vast. How do you quantify that? And it all matters. Is it, I saw empty pill bottles over here on the counter. Are there weapons? Are there, all of this is going on, right? And you're taking it all in. It's all data, and it's 1 billion bits per second. Well, our brain can really not process maybe a couple thousand bits per second. What happens to all that stored information? It's layered. It gets layered and it gets stored. And so, in my opinion, this post-traumatic stress syndrome that many experience, and with my police officer, it was the last straw, and it was a family stressor. Had nothing to do with work. It had nothing to do with his service in Afghanistan or earlier in the 90s. I believe it was Afghanistan that he served his country. It had nothing to do with his job. It was a family stress that tipped him over into this, oh my God, I can't fire my weapon. I cannot qualify. And so by taking all that we know and having him empty his weapon and and holding and setting it down, doing the stress release technique. So thinking about starting with the family stress, working our way through that to holding the weapon empty, and then meeting at the range, and then just processing. So number one, I needed to see if it would work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then having him be able to load the weapon and be able to fire and hit his target and then make his appointment and qualify. It was a bit of a process, 2 weeks to do all these steps,
Mm-hmm.
but hasn't missed qualification since.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's got to be satisfying for you, right?
Oh, I feel like I have won a gold medal at the Olympics because I got to participate and see someone succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, again, emotional, because really that's what floats my boat, man. That just makes me feel like I have done humanity a huge service. And so I responded to people's emergencies in the middle of the night for zero pay because that makes me happy. Yeah. Right. And so now participating in someone else's success, I mean, is that not why we have kids? Because we want them to be more successful than we are. I mean, it's just part of paying it forward. Yeah. And so I'm one of those see one, do one, teach one kind of people. And so I'm saying, hey, I think this should be in every school. If we could teach kindergartners and toddlers to do this, and then as they become more executive in their thinking, be able to hold the finger mode, thumb to ring finger, index and middle fingers to the forehead, and an eye rotation about, I have to take this test or I have to do this thing that I'm not really good at. And we don't know all the things that they've experienced in their life in order to bring them to what is stressful to them. It's nearly impossible to know anybody's 100% thoughts. We just don't. As well as you know your wife or your kids, you don't know what experiences they've had that they don't tell you about, that they have kept to themselves. And that is a bit of the beauty of this technique is I really don't need to know. It's non-disclosure. And that was one thing, back in the 90s when we had just the Mitchell model as our de-stressor. Let's have a debriefing.
This is a model.
This is a model, right? And it was what we had available at the time. Yep. And it depended on you to disclose. Whether for whatever reason, people didn't want to disclose. It was not macho. It was whatever bias you had about not talking about bad things. It was just how we were raised. And so we're moving into it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to go to counseling, all that kind of thing. We have peer counselors. But now we're starting to see the peer counselors are really having problems because not only do they have their stress, but they're carrying the stress of their peers, of their peers and friends.
Yeah.
And so, it's
that's been a big concern of mine over the last few years, kind of working in this space. And even my previous film, working in the opioid crisis space and working with people in recovery, it's the helpers who are helping others, that are now experiencing more trauma and more stress. And like my one friend said, if I turn off my phone, someone may die. So he's carrying this weight. It's like, dude, you don't need to carry that.
Right.
And so how can a helper who's concerned about his or her friends, how can they, take care of themselves so that they can continue to help?
Right. Because it is cumulative.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've seen a lot on EMS calls, and I don't know, I allude to it in my book and I talk about the death of my parents in 2001. But that was my difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And that 2001 my mom died the week of September 11th.
Oh, wow.
So she passed away on the 5th, and she committed suicide. And then you have September 11th, so I have to fly. And then in December, my dad died of suicide.
Oh, wow.
So I have, thank you. It was a lot.
I'm sure.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
I have a medical massage practice. I had to close my practice. I was dealing with all of the situation of 9/11, the death of my parents, and then flying back to Wisconsin after trying to, right? So it's just all of that accumulative stress. And it was this 1-minute stress technique that really got me through it, because as a stressor would come up, I would just process it. I would take a minute and just process it, or I would do it in advance. I now have to fly back. I have to deal with X, Y, and Z. I have to meet with the attorneys. I have to, all of these kinds of things. Right. And so it became my go-to. Really, if we can get rid of those billions of bits of information we're storing that are useless information and clear the cache, if you will, like defrag the useless stuff that we don't really need. And it doesn't erase the memory.
Sure.
It separates the fight or flight from the memory. So it takes the emotion and turns it down, but it doesn't erase the situation that you went through.
Sure.
So I don't
think. So
think
you can kind of look at it objectively?
Very much so. It becomes data without the emotional charge. And so it's an exciting, I think, technique. When I watched your film, I was very intrigued by some of the work that was shown, and I was very curious to know how they're able to turn down the noise for some of the people that they were working with in the film. I'm like, oh, I need to be in touch with those folks. I think this would be very beneficial and life-saving.
Yeah.
I think that we don't understand the stress of the people we think are doing fine.
Right.
And in the movie, you show the dispatcher that everybody thinks is doing fine. And that was my mom. Everybody thought she was doing fine. And there was never any discussion about not doing fine. There was discussion about going to counseling. But then she never talked about suicide ever. It was shocking.
Sure.
Absolutely shocking. And so that is my motivator, is to save a life.
It's your why.
It's my why. And I look back and, do I have guilt? I've been over and over conversations with my mom, and I can't really say that I feel guilty. Maybe it's because I've done stress release and I know that it's not mine. I don't own it. It's not mine. But I feel a bit of I'm going to say a bit of an onus, right? I feel I owe it to society. I know this information, and I feel like it's my advocation. Here you go. Let's take care of it. I do work with clients one-on-one. I'm more of a coach than I am a counselor. I'm not a licensed counselor any longer. And I teach others. I go in and talk to police departments and fire departments, EMS. I have conversations with psychologists to say, look, let's educate and know that there are other techniques that really do work.
It's amazing. So the book is 1 Minute Stress Release. And so where can people find this book?
You can find that on Amazon. And I tried to get it out to the bookstores through a publisher, a clearinghouse kind of thing, but I don't have any publisher backing me, so it's a little more difficult as an independent. But really, I think we have this brotherhood, if you will, the folks in blue, that whether you're police or fire, EMS, dispatch, and shout out to all the tow truck drivers that get left behind because they're out there on the scene right along with the fire engines and the police cars. And who do they talk to? Are they included in your group?
You know, there's actually a memorial for the tow truck drivers down in Chattanooga.
It's amazing
because that's where the tow truck was invented. And I saw this on a YouTube channel. Actually, Samantha Brown, the travel lady who does the travel show, she was in Chattanooga, and they visited this tow truck museum, and where they have a memorial for all the tow truck drivers who died. Every year they have a ceremony there for them.
The tow truck drivers put the car onto the flatbed, and who puts the tarp out? Who stores the vehicle while the case is being investigated? Who deals with the aftermath?
Right.
And then they go on to the next.
So your technique can impact all those folks.
All those folks. If you have coordination, and it doesn't take that much coordination, and the ability to recall, and I say gently. So start with something small. You're not going to work up. I didn't work up to, or I didn't take the immediate situation head on. I worked my way up to the thoughts, the feelings, and sometimes it's the sounds, the sights, because it's incremental. We store that information incrementally as data, right?
Sure.
And we have no way to access it. And so sometimes it's a physical gripping, right? It's that physical, and that could be the trigger, if you will, for somebody. It's, oh gosh, I can't get rid of this pain. And it's because the physical engagement of that muscle is stored in the loop of the mind. And so by dealing with I was looking in my rearview mirror at the time of impact and processing that with the 1-minute stress release technique, you now separate the stress from the memory loop, and the thumb pain will go away.
That's amazing.
True story.
Wow. That's amazing.
True story. So it really is remarkable, I think. And I just want everybody to have the information, because I think it could really change how people of all ages, all professions deal with their overwhelm and the stress of everyday life, but also in their professional career. I mean, right down to the owner of the business, tow trucks, all of it, right? It's just filmmakers, I understand, can be quite stressed from time to time. So,
yes, we are occasionally, and podcast hosts too.
Right.
You know, I really want our listeners and those who are watching on YouTube to try this technique. If you have something that's stressing you out, and if you forget how to do this, just go to the YouTube channel and watch this again. And maybe I'll cut that piece out and put it as a separate piece on video on the YouTube channel so people can access it quickly.
I think I even have a short video up on my website as well. It's like, okay,
I'll link to that.
Thanks. It just, it should not be the best kept secret.
Right. Yeah.
And I really think that we can save a life by seeing this, doing it, and then sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I'm so grateful to be able to get the information out. I'm also grateful to Dr. Wayne, because not only did he getting his attention and being able to have him read through something, because the man is very busy and he is all over the world.
Right, literally.
And then quite literally. And then to have him actually write on the back a little something, to me was very, gives me the credibility that I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And having him evaluate it. So, I had a medical director in Wisconsin too. I worked in lots of various medical settings and things. And so being able to bring this awareness to people, letting them know that they're not alone, that there is an actionable step that they can take and they don't have to stay stuck in that overwhelm, I think is just foundational in our survival.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if someone would like to get a hold of you, how would they do that? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Life is pretty simple. So the hardest part is remembering there's an E in my name. So Marie Matteson, MATTESON.com. And you can click the contact tab there. I have some questions and answers on there. But that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Well, Marie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I look forward to putting this to use in the next time I'm going through security.
Let me know. Let me know. Like if, and listeners and viewers, if you have success, contact me and give me a blurb and tell me about your success so I can cheer from home and just be living in your success, because really it does make the world go round to see people have wonderful success in their life.
And we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Conrad.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the First Responder Wellness Podcast. I hope Marie's story and her 1-minute stress release gave you something practical you can use the very next time that stress starts to spike, whether that's on a call, in a briefing, at home with your family, or like I said before, standing in the airport security line. You can turn down the emotional charge so that you're not living in constant fight or flight. Hey, if you want to learn more about Marie's work, grab her book, The 1-Minute Stress Release, on Amazon, and visit her at mariematteson.com. That's Matteson with an E. We've also linked to her website and the resources down in the show notes. Hey, if this conversation was helpful to you, it could be helpful to someone on your team. Share it with your fellow responders, your peer supporters, your dispatchers. Share it with your team, and then subscribe, rate, and review the show so that more first responders can find these conversations. And I'd be so grateful if you do that. And if your agency is looking for tools and training to support wellness and leadership, you can always connect with me directly through the links down below in the show notes. And finally, always remember that you are not alone. And if you need someone to talk to and don't know where you can turn, you can dial 988 for help. Until next time, be well, take care of yourself and those around you, and go out and do something great in the world.